Hi, this is Mayhem News Live wrestling broadcast for 10/30/2013, and we are on our Halloween Eve show. Meant to have a show yesterday, but I had a lot of doctor's appointments, and little boy had a physical. Wife had to go do some stuff too, so just a busy day. So we decided to move everything today. I have made a little change. Some of the smaller shows on Thursday and Friday, I had been actually planning on putting live or taped footage from shows, but it seems that I get more response from the shows where I'm just basically sitting here talking with you on a person-to-person. So I think we're just going to stick with that, and I may show some pictures or something of the shows or something if it's something deems it. But so on this show, what we do is we talk about the headlines. We talk about Raw, and since we had a pay-per-view Sunday, that's what you want to call it. Anyway, we had a pay-per-view Sunday, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to start off with the big question this week. Is the Carter family, if you don't know, Dixie Carter, her family owns TNA. Is the Carter family going to sell TNA? With no concrete information from the Carter family personally and no official word from TNA, most people can only speculate. However, there has been some changes in TNA management and behind the scenes that would make you think that maybe, well, we'll go into it here. With the buzz over the possibility of Eric Bischoff being told to stay home and just to basically get paid out for his contract that ends sometime early 2014, it brings thoughts that TNA may be remodeling their management, remodeling the company as far as who's running it behind the scenes, to make it a little more attractive for a sale. In my opinion, not having Bischoff as part of TNA would make it more pleasing to a buyer. Hogan is not there either right now. Having Hogan there, the draw he gets from being a former wrestling star actually is okay, but having him run things, which of course we know he actually wasn't running things, he was on screen management, but the fact that you had both of them there, and Bischoff, who has been described as not very popular in TNA and has been labeled as the one that destroyed WCW, I just don't know that having him there would be wise for a sale. So it's the fact that he's not there, doesn't speak too well for his son. Anyway, I just think that it's their way of making room. There's actually we're going to talk about some other TNA news later on, but I think maybe if they are planning on selling, maybe they're trying to get a little curb appeal, and not having Bischoff there would be a wise move. Ricardo Rodriguez, and I kind of beat around the bush about this, but most of the people I talk to know that Ricardo Rodriguez is not the only person, not the only way he's been in the ring, so I'm just not going to beat around the bush anymore. It has been said that he has been written off WWE TV and will be reporting to Next to become a regular performer. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, that's kind of crappy. We're not going to get to see Rodriguez. Actually, this is the best thing that could happen, not only for the fans, but for Rodriguez. Because, okay, if you do not know, for those that don't know, this is the best thing that could happen. Most that I've talked to, personal friends and people on Twitter, actually know who Chimera is. Chimera's Rage on Twitter. Most people know, and it's not too big of a secret, that Rodriguez and Chimera are the same person. That is his alter character. He done a lot in FCW, and now that character has actually started showing up on Next. Now, as a fan of the Chimera character, I'm excited that he's actually going to be able to focus on in-ring wrestling, in-ring action. He teamed with in a pair called Los Locals, or Locals, against Los Matadores, and the fact that he has not been competing full-time actually showed. I think it's wise for them to move him out of this announcer thing, and because I'm gonna be honest, we've talked about this on Mayhem News Live and on the webpage, that you can't have a heel, which was Del Rio, who was brought in as a heel, but him having an announcer that is so popular basically made his heel run fail. Well, when they switched him to a good guy, people still cared more about Rodriguez than they did Del Rio, which is kind of crappy for Del Rio. So when they split him off, they tried to put him with Rob Van Dam, who right now, even though I still think he has a contract, he is not actually wrestling with WWE right now. He took some time off. So I don't know if something come up or he just, but I don't think he's gone completely. But that did not seem to work out. It didn't actually I think they would have been better just to took him off TV and went ahead and went into the Chimera thing, and actually have him come out and give Del Rio something to think about. But the way he wrestled the other day in Los Locals, you could tell that he couldn't focus, because it's kind of hard when you're traveling to try to focus on wrestling when you're in, having another character. So I think this is, not only is Chimera good for business, to use that overly used phrase, but it's also good for Rodriguez. It really is. And you can look him up on Chimera's Rage on YouTube, and you can actually watch some of his matches in FCW and surrounding areas. If he can get back to that, where he's doing like that on a WWE ring, I'm sorry. People are going to be asking, I hate to say this about Rey Mysterio, but they're going to be asking, they're going to start comparing him to the way Mysterio looked, when he first got into the limelight. There is a lot of news that the morale is improving backstage. It's kind of funny, Hogan's gone, Bischoff's being told to stay home and just get paid for his contract, and suddenly morale is all of a sudden higher. Coincidence? Probably not. There's also talk about them going back to Universal Studios. So apparently the venue that they were using before may be opening up. Still no official word on that, but there's a lot of people talking about them going back to Universal, and maybe even picking up a few of their released talents. All right, we're going to talk about a sore subject, and okay, a lot of people want to act like this person never existed, and if you don't know, I was an RN for 13 years, okay, 12, 13 years, and I did a little research. Okay, we're going to talk about Chris Benoit. All right. The reason why is Chris Benoit's son has been training to be a pro wrestler. David Benoit has been working with David Hart Smith, the son of the British Bulldog, and has actually trying to get into the business. This is just a preliminary training. It's not like he's going to show up on TV in the next month. And I understand that Vince and the WWE were embarrassed because they did a tribute show, that Raw, right after everything happened. And then next thing you know, we find out, well, this was a murder-suicide. And, I can understand that. But from a medical standpoint, most reports is that Chris Benoit was, in a sense, not very stable mentally. He had a lot of problems going on. There was some talk about that his son was sick, that he had some kind of the X factor gene, and talks of similar to autism. I don't know. And apparently there was a lot of talk. All this is speculation. There's no, there's only 3 people, well 4, that knows what went on in that house that weekend. 3 of them's dead, and we won't, as much as, the man upstairs knows, a lot of times he's not going to tell us what happened. So there's only 3 people knows what happened in that house that were human, okay? And that was Benoit, his wife, and their son. But there was a lot of talk of problems about the boy's health. Dean Malenko was quoted as, Benoit was not a monster when all the road rage, all the roid rage talk began. Even people like all of his friends that are wrestlers and people that knew him personally knew that, he was not a monster. They never saw the referee, Scott Armstrong, said, I never saw him raise a harsh word to anybody. And that is just not what roid rage is. People that are on roids that are actually roid raging, they are, somebody says something wrong to them, they're going to punch a wall. They're going to be upset. Now, I did a little research, okay? His toxicity report listed Xanax and hydrocodone, as well as elevated testosterone levels. Many don't realize that Xanax, everybody just thinks, it's just an antidepressant. It's used for a lot of things, but it's actually an anti-anxiety med. They use it for a lot of things, antipsychotic and other things. But anyway, Xanax is one of the most addictive prescription drugs available. It is 50 times more addictive than cocaine. That is why it's only given in like 0.001 milligrams or 1 microgram. It's given in small doses. Okay, hydrocodone is widely used pain medicine, especially for athletes active in sports, especially wrestling, football. It's one of the most highly used, pain meds for post-injury, and it's used to treat many things. And the fact that Chris Benoit was at his age still wrestling, we all know that they get bumps, bruises, joints messed up, Hey, but those drugs were normal. They were at therapeutic range only. He was not overtaking hydrocodone. He was not overtaking Xanax. So he wasn't taking 5 or 6 hydrocodone and 3 Xanax and passing out. So now, there had to be something. The doctor had prescribed him Xanax for some reason. He was having some kind of difficulty, whether it was some... And this was not some off-the-street testosterone. From what I understand, it was actually a prescribed medication. Now, I think the doctor got into some heat about this, but, we don't actually know what was going on. We do know this, that there were some problems in Benoit's life that we don't know about. There was no, he left some very cryptic text. He sent somebody a text at WWE that my address is here, I live here. There were a lot of speculations that the actual murders had already took place. I don't know. It's terrible that WWE is acting like this person doesn't exist when we all know that he did, and that he was sick. He really was. He was having some problems. There was something going on that we don't know about. And like I said, there's only 3 people that's going to know what happened in that house that weekend. And they're all dead. So I think what we need to do is be a little less judgmental. And, I know Vince McMahon was embarrassed. Trust me, Vince, it's not the first time you've been embarrassed. It's not going to be the last. And I can see that, he had to refund all those people their money and everything. But trust me, he didn't miss it. It's just the fact that, they act like he didn't exist, and we all know he did. He was there. He was wrestling. They say that he took Eddie Guerrero's passing very, very hard. Eddie and him spoke every day. Dean Malenko was quoted as saying that he really, really took it hard. So, we just don't know what was going on in his life that we don't know about. So before you start judging and making these little funny memes and all this bullshit, I think maybe you need to realize that there were some things that you don't know. There were some things that were going on in his life that nobody will ever know. And if they do, they're not talking out of respect. So, do I think what he did was right? No. He shouldn't have killed his family, and he shouldn't have killed himself. But to say that, to put him in the same room as Jeffrey Dahmer and some of these other crazy people, I think we need to realize that there's some things going on we don't know about. The word is that Paul Heyman's time with Ryback may be over, and that he may not be on TV until Lesnar returns. So I think this is a mistake, because there's one thing I've figured out. Heyman is good for business and ratings. Heyman has done stuff on TV since, unfortunately we have to put it with Lesnar, and, so apparently if he's done with Ryback, he's not going to be on TV. He's not going to be with Curtis Axel either. So I just think it's a mistake. It really is. I think Heyman ought to be on TV doing something, because he's that good. Simple. Dixie Carter responds to sale rumors saying gossip is the opiate of the oppressed. Well, come on. You didn't expect her to come out and say, oh, hell, yeah, we selling that shit. It's gone. We don't want that shit no more. Yeah, she's not going to come out and say it. I do think it was bad taste to use the word opiate, though. That's kind of, especially since we were just, but anyway. There were plans to have Vince come out and be revealed as working with Big Show, which apparently it's going to have to happen, because we all know Vince was involved. It was, they might as well wrote it on every wall in every arena they go to. It's obvious. Who else could make his music play? Who else could order someone to play music when Stephanie McMahon and Triple H have said, I don't want his music played. I don't want him in the building. I don't want him here. I don't want him there. He's gone. He doesn't work here anymore. But yet his music plays every time he comes out. He gets in the building every time. So who could overrule that? Vince McMahon. So, but they said at the last minute it was wrote out. So apparently they're going to stretch that out a little further. Hell in the Cell results, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to talk too much about Hell in the Cell. I want to thank WWE for proving me right that it was wise for me not to order Hell in the Cell. The only thing I missed is, the only thing good that I see come out of it was Cody and Goldust retained the tag titles. And Kane returned. I'm pretty sure Captain Ear would be like, but, I just don't, the pay-per-view was lackluster. It was weak. There was no surprise that HBK helped Orton and helped Triple H to get the WWE title. The whole pay-per-view, except for the items I mentioned before, was a weak excuse for a pay-per-view. Even though they had a little blood show up in the pay-per-view, it's still, yeah. It was.
Well, Hell in the Cell has sucked.
Yeah, ever since they split. Ever since they split it off into its own pay-per-view, and all of the matches don't take place in the Hell in the Cell, there are certain pay-per-views I don't get, and I won't be getting Battleground next year, because I got it mainly because Goldust was there and Cody was there, and their jobs were. Oops, sorry, we're not having an earthquake. I just accidentally kicked the table. We're okay. We're not having an earthquake. It's all good. Anyway. But for me, it was a weak pay-per-view. A lot of these smaller pay-per-views that they've split off are mainly matches. It's just they're not very good. All right, we're going to move on to Raw results. John Cena opens the show, and even though he was a little long-winded, in my opinion, he got a pretty positive reaction. I think 2 months without Cena actually did the fans some good. I think they realized that. Or they realized that they missed John Cena, or maybe they just saw the crap that they had without John Cena there and realized that, hey, John Cena's crap isn't that bad. I like John Cena. If you don't like John Cena for wrestling, you need to like what he does for charities and stuff like that. So but he comes out. He gets a pretty good fan reaction. Sandow attempts to cash in and gets burnt by Cena. And Sandow broke the unwritten rule. You don't challenge Cena, a returning from an injury Cena or a surgery Cena, for anything, because you're always going to fail. And so Sandow becomes the second person not to cash in their Money in the Bank and not actually win the title. So I have a feeling they're going to probably have a feud, probably. And I really grow tired. We had an Ambrose versus Big E, and I'm really tired of his matches suddenly getting DQ'd by the Shield. And right before that match is very interesting footage of Ambrose talking about him going to actually, I'm going to actually win my match. And there's some looks from Rollins and Reigns that kind of hint of maybe a little dissension in the ranks of the Shield. He did not appreciate, I know Roman Reigns especially, didn't appreciate the pop-off about, I'm actually going to win my match. But I'm really tired. And then, of course, after we have the DQ, we have Teddy Long using his Brad Maddox voodoo doll, and suddenly we get a 6-man tag, which the Shield wins. Anyway. So Shawn Michaels comes out. He tries to apologize to Daniel Bryan. He gives this long thing. And you can't really feel bad about Shawn. Everybody knew when he became special referee what was going to happen. It's happened before. So we all know Shawn is he is very, very popular for the swerves. So, anyway. And basically, Bryan gives Michaels the yes lock for the troubles. Now, there are a lot of fans who thought, well, we're going to have a feud between Michaels and Bryan, and he's going to come out of retirement. But actually, from what we understand, is they used the yes lock on Daniel Bryan, using the yes lock on Shawn Michaels to actually complete that feud, that beef between him and, because Michaels isn't expected back on TV unless they need him for a later date. So now that could change. That's, things change at WWE, just like the faces of the cards that you throw out on the ground from a deck of cards change. So anything, but right now, as far as that's what they use that to stop that feud and settle, what problems. And if you don't follow Rihanna Mater, she is a big 3MB fan, and it's not the fact that she likes 3MB, but she likes each member, and I do too. Even Heath Slater starting to grow on me a little bit. The fact that they get buried every week facing these new teams like Los Matadors. How many times are we going to see this match? What happened to McIntyre being the chosen one? What happened to that? That was a good storyline. I was more interested in Heath Slater doing wrestling with all the legends. And don't get me wrong, Jinder Mahal would make a great heel. And he might actually make a good, hell, team him and Khali up. It's not like Khali's, got all the charisma in the world. I think he's funny as hell all the time. But anyway, I think that would be cool. Team them up. Make them face if you don't want to make them heel. But, the Generals, which are the rivals to the Harlem Globetrotter, have a better record than 3MB. That's really sad. And the fact that WWE wants us to believe every week that 3MB gets beat every week is just, it perplexes me. Anyway, AJ and Tamina defeat the Bellas. And are these the only 4 divas that they have in WWE? I haven't seen Caitlyn on TV in a while. I've seen her on some WWE.com stuff. I've seen her on some app stuff, but Caitlyn's not on here. You rarely get to see Natalya. Thank God that that night, tonight, this Raw, you actually get to see Natalya wrestle. But are those the only 4 divas? And as much as I have started to respect the Bellas, as far, and Brie brought it while Nikki was hurt, and Tamina is, she's a snooker. But is that it? Anyway. Kane defeats The Miz, then offers his mask to Stephanie, which made no damn sense whatsoever. I know Stephanie McMahon tried to deball the Big Show and failed. So now we're to believe that she's demonstered the monster? I don't think so. It's just her holding the mask up and smiling was like, what the hell? Anyway, I so wanted to see what was going to happen with the Wyatts and Kane. There was a lot of hints that maybe he was going to be a part of the Wyatts, and that may be why he's turned in this mask. But anyway, CM Punk's defeat Ryback in a street fight, which was voted on, then gets attacked by the Wyatts. Now, that actually made sense. You know, the Wyatts have to agree. They've already took out Kane, so they're going to start taking out popular wrestlers. So who's more popular right now than CM Punk? So, I mean, other than Cena and a couple others, they're at the top of the thing, you know. The Real Americans actually give Cody and Goldust their first defeat since Battleground. It was actually a good match. So I even have to give it to the Real Americans, or We the People. Anyway, I have to give it to them. It was a great match. Natalya defeats Summer, and I'm gonna be honest. This comes in a tie with Goldust and them's match as the matches of the night. Natalya and Summer put on a good match. And Summer can wrestle. Yeah, she kind of reminds you of Kelly, except the fact that she can wrestle. Apparently, you know, she can actually bounce off the ropes and actually make it look believable. But anyway, that was a great match. And then we have the crap with all the wrestlers out and everybody in there kissing Randy Orton's ass. Thank God for the Big Show. Of course, his music plays again, so I wonder who they're going to say they fired because he got in the building again. And, of course, Vince McMahon told him, nah, just go on vacation. I'll take care of it. And then the locker room actually takes out the Shield to allow Big Show to get in. And of course, Triple H is all big and bad until Randy Orton gets knocked the hell out. And I just think of Chris Tucker when I see that. I just want to see Chris Tucker running the ring and say, "You got knocked out." And then it goes off the air. Basically, Big Show telling Triple H, you know, I will bankrupt you. Simple as that. But that's pretty much the show for today. I'm going to run over some of our sponsor stuff, and we're going to move on and get ready for tomorrow's stuff. Zack Promotions, they are a non-profit organization helping causes like autism, ALS, just to name a few. They do have a big thing, Busting for Autism, that's going to take place November the 16th and the 17th. And if you can't buy tickets, and because it is in Katy, Texas, you can always donate. You can go to Facebook, or you can go to their Facebook and just search Zack Promotions, or you can ask them how to donate at ZPack Promotions on Twitter, or you can go to www.zackpackpromotions.com and actually donate that way. Plus, you can see all the other information that they're doing. They are having Lunch with Stars. Now, Goldust is not going to be there, and they've had one other person not going to be there, but they've replaced, I know Joyce DeWitt's going to be there. And then they've gotten a couple of new people. There's a guy that dresses up as Batman. I think he does other characters too, don't he? Just Batman. And he goes around to the children's hospitals and visits, which is, you know, that's kind of cool. It's almost as cool as the window washers dressing up as like Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman. You know, it's kind of interesting. But they've got a whole bunch of people going to be there. And, you know, so if you can support them by going, you know, you can always donate. FightDisabilitySlurs.wordpress.com is our other thing. We're trying to stop the use of disability slurs, not just slurs in general. And then I want to thank Throttle for our use of our new song, our theme song, New Blood. They do have a new album coming out, and they're still getting everything, you know, trying to promote it. So it's Razor Wire Finish Line. You can search them. Just search Throttle on Amazon or search them on iTunes, and you can find any of their new stuff. You can buy their albums or the singles separately. I want to give a shout out to Blast 52. Blast 52 is an Irish band. They got great music. They have a new EP, We Can Pretend. You can follow them at Blast 52 or at Blast 52 Drummer. You can also go to our page, mayhem-news.com, and look over to the right under the affiliates, and you can find their stuff as well. I also want to give a shout out to the real Louisville Ghostbusters. You'll see at the end of this video, I'll have their logo. You can find them on Facebook. They have Ecto, they have the car. It's really cool. They do a lot of charity work, and they work with charities around that area. So I also want to send out, thank Chance Prophet for giving me a heads up on Gabe Lyall and his family. Gabe is fighting childhood cancer, and any prayers and thoughts you can give toward them, I appreciate it. That's been the show for today. Tomorrow we'll have Impact Thursdays. I will just be doing a talk. I won't, so the show may not do until late or the following day, but that's okay. Y'all know where we are. You can follow us on YouTube, or you can follow us at Mayhem News or at Mayhem News, or you can follow me, the Man in Black. That's Timib Lives. That's TMIBLIVES, and I'm going to let Throttle take us out. And have a blessed day.